Hello, my name is Kate Kennedy, and I'm reading to you from my book Skin, a memoir, which was published in 2020 by Littoral Books. In January of 2016, I visited our family doctor for a winter ritual, the freezing off of a sun-damaged spot on my cheek. I was 67, a pale white person prone to sunburn. As a teenager, I'd slathered myself with baby oil, equating good looks with a rosy tan. I'd ridden my bike hellbent. I'd played tennis. I'd been a lifeguard at an outdoor pool and burned and bubbled and peeled. That particular January's freezing off was different from previous ones. For several weeks before it, a white tidbit, the size and texture of a freshwater pearl, had appeared within the corona of sun damage. It was growing, though hardly noticeable, in the scheme of a face. I might have ignored it had the routine appointment not already been scheduled. Just to be safe, the doctor cut out the pearl and sent it to the lab. A few stitches, then a Band-Aid. 3 days later, she called with biopsy results. Malignant melanoma in situ, lentigo maligna melanoma, perineural invasion. A lifelong worshiper of words, I felt like a beetle on the pin of phrases I couldn't fathom, except to know they conjured a host of troubles. Within a few hours, my husband Nate and I were sitting at Plastic and Hand Surgical Associates. I on the exam table, he in a padded metal chair. Dr. K, the plastic surgeon, explained exactly what needed to happen and why. He was young enough to be our son. His news was bad. Few details registered except that he and a surgical oncologist would operate together. Dr. McGee's arena was metastasis. After radionuclide dye was injected into the tumor and traced to the lymph node it drained to, he'd remove the node for biopsy. Then Dr. K would take over. His job to excise a chunk of my cheek. That would be biopsied too. It's algorithmic, he said. When I asked how he knew how much flesh to remove, the goal was 10 millimeters of clean margin all around. At the end, he'd covered the site with a graft. Putty-faced and lined with worry, Nate looked older than his 74 years. But then he turned forward and asked in his disarming way, "So will you use pigskin?" I laughed. I couldn't help it. Aghast, Dr. K frowned at both of us. "It's not funny," he said. "It's very serious." I nodded, feeling chastened, as if Nate and I, two junior high cut-ups, had pranked the student teacher. Yet there was something beyond our nerved-up foolishness I needed him to understand. It's how we handle serious things. A week after Dr. K operated, he snipped off the surgical bolster sewn over the graft to protect it from shearing off should I bump it or roll over by mistake while I slept. "Your facial sculpture," an artist friend called it. To me, it looked like a yellow patty pan squash. Underneath the bolster, my new cheek, taken from my shoulder, was concave and stained deep blue from tracer dye. A saucer, a caldera, I described it, a crater on the moon. Though the skin graft lacked sweat glands and oil glands, it slowly adjusted to the way life worked on a face. Sutures dropped out or were pulled, blue dye reabsorbed. I managed to keep teaching an online graduate class for UMaine, sandwiched between naps. Because we met virtually and only through the written word, my students knew me not as a cancer patient, but as a remnant, at least, of the guide and encourager I used to be. That winter, I hunkered down, content to stay home, not wanting to frighten small children. Once that worry faded, it still felt antisocial to foist my face in rehab onto people in restaurants or by the produce section at Hannaford's. In fact, though, I didn't mind my new look. In a grim way, I was proud of it. My cheek had taken one for the team. Instead of referring to myself as Frankenstein's monster sister, I adopted the more benign Raggedy Ann. Wonder-working Dr. K had preserved my smile after all, and the contour of my cheek. I wouldn't need chemo or radiation, I thought. For a time, at least, I even believed I was cured. Thank you.